What's up guys, Brian from Cross Coast Gaming here with another Java tutorial, and today we're going to be talking about methods. So up in the top left we're going to create a new Java project, just for organization, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it method project. And then inside of here, inside the src folder, we're going to make a new package, and I'm just going to call it data. It's just like organizing stuff. And inside that package, a new class called main. Why not? So we have a brand new class here. And so you guys may have seen in a different video of mine where I went over some methods to make tic-tac-toe, or maybe a different tutorial. And I didn't really go too in-depth into it. And so what I'm going to do now is going to devote this entire video to methods and return types and when and why you should use them. So we'll start with our public static void main, which is the entry point of our program. And this doesn't have like a script or anything. I don't have anything planned really, so it's kind of off the dome, so I'm sorry if it's a little disorganized. At the top, let's make two numbers for us to play around with. So two integers, x and y. And then all we're going to do inside the main method is print out those values. So I'll say x. And by default, they should be 0, so let's try that out. X is 0, y is 0. Perfect. So the way methods work, so main right here, this is the main method. And a method is just like a block of code between two brackets that you can just execute over and over without having to write over and over again. So you just call the name of the method and it'll execute. In this case, main, our program or Java, it calls main as the first thing it does. And so it executes everything in here. What we can do though is we can create a different method called, say, void example, two parentheses, and then we can just call that right here. We can call, and when I say call, I mean execute our method just by typing the name of it. So we named it void example. This can be named anything. And then when you type void example, two parentheses and the semicolon, it'll execute whatever's in between these two parentheses. So for an example, I'll write that. And when I run it, we print out this, and we call void example, and then the computer goes, all right, well, what is that? And it checks void example, and it says you want to print out void example called. And so that's what the void return type means. It means that when you call it, it's just simple, straightforward. It's just going to run whatever code is in here before it goes to the next line. So we should actually put something at the end of our main method called end of main method. So that way you can just see that void example is called. It runs everything inside of here before going to the next step in the main method, which is end of main method. So you might still be confused about what makes a void return type special. So we're going to make another example called number, and it's going to have an integer return type. And it's going to give you an error because there's no return value. So pretty much you can see that we started the same way as a variable, public static int, just like up here, public static int. And then we named this one number instead of x or y. But we put these two parentheses here and then the opening and closing brackets. And so we can set an integer equal to this, because this is going to return an integer. So up here at the top of our main method, we could say x equals number. But because we're getting this error, or the reason we're getting it, is because we have no return value. We're setting x equal to something that doesn't exist. So by default, we could say return 0, but since they're already 0, let's do something like return 13. Let's try running that. X is 13, y is 0. So you can set an integer equal to a method if the return type is an integer. So you may be wondering, what's the point in this case? Well, these parentheses right here are the arguments, as they're called. And that's like what kind of changes the outcome or data that you give to your method to get a different outcome. So in here, let's type int a and int b. And then let's return a plus b. And then when you call it over here, x equals number, you need to give those two values. So we'll say 7 and 9. 16. So when we call this, we have an integer named x, or we're setting it equal to number given the values 7 and 9. So then it says, all right, well, where's number? Number is down here. And in this case, a is equal to 7, because it's the first one we give, and then we do a comma. And then b is equal to 9, because it's the second number we give. And then we just return back a plus b, which in this case is 16. So that's a return type of integer. We could also have one that's a little different, but not really, Boolean. And let's see, I'll just name it Boolean example. And this will take an integer as well. We'll say int a, and we'll say if a is greater than 10, return true, else return false. And so you can probably already guess what's going to happen. We could set something like that. So you can set a Boolean value equal to this new method we just made and give it a number. So in this case, it'll set it equal to false, and then bool will forever be equal to false. And another way you can do it inside if statements, which is like a shortcut kind of, is you can use it inside, you can use it as a condition. So if Boolean example given 12 is equal to true, then print that out. And so you don't even need an actual value in here. It's just going to run this, and then it'll return either true or false, and then it'll just say, all right, if that's true, do that. If not, don't do that. All right, so pretty much methods with a return type are just the same as variables. You can see they're called the same way, public static int, public static int. You can use them any way that you can use a variable. So we could even we could print them out. Well, I guess we shouldn't do it after the end because that's the whole point. But we can print out, let's see, number given 7 and 1 plus Boolean example given 11, and let's see what this does. 8, that was number, true. So we gave number 7 and 1, and since we're calling it to print out, it's going to automatically print out the result of what gets returned. So in this case, it's returning a plus b, 7 plus 1, 8. And we're saying that was numbers, and that was the number method. And then we're going to call a Boolean example given the value of 11. And remember, if it's greater than 10, it'll return true. So here we say it returned true. It printed it out. You can even do some fun things like nesting methods like this. So we could say inside for the first value, we could say number 1 and 3. So we call number within number. So let's see what that does. 5. So 1 and 3 returns 4, and then 4 and 1 returns 5. Alright guys, I think that's about it. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.